Hi guys, good evening. I am Ilangovan, Professor of Zoology, teaching for zoology for onlineaxi.com. So last class we have concluded something about the genetic disorders. Now let us start with a new chapter related to human reproduction. So I have studied so many aspects of reproduction. So we have sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction and so on in plants as well as in animals. And what are the actually different stages of development during the development of an individual? So we have the following developmental stages during the life of an organism. Number one, gametogenesis, simply the formation of gametes. Number two, the union of gametes, namely the fertilization process. Now the fertilized egg undergoes repeated mitotic divisions to form a ball of cells called blastula, and then the third event, what we call this one as cleavage. Then the blastula undergoes the next event, the fourth event, what we call this one as the gastrulation process, formation of the three germ layers along with the formation of gastrula. And from that gastrula, from the various layers, we have formed the different types of organs, and that we call this one organogenesis. And once the new organs are formed, they increase in size, what is called as a growth, and also undergoing modifications according to the functions. That process is called differentiation. So growth and differentiation, the final stage. So gametogenesis, fertilization, cleavage, gastrulation, organogenesis, and finally the growth and differentiation of various organs and organ systems, leading to the formation of the whole organism altogether. And these are all the different stages once a person come across during his or her lifetime as per human beings concerned. Now the first event what we are going to talk about, gametogenesis. So the first event during the lifetime of an organism is nothing but gametogenesis. The word genesis refers to the formation, birth or development. So the process of formation of male gametes in the testes and the formation of female gametes in the ovary is called what is known as gametogenesis. So altogether we have two different types of gametogenesis, one in the case of male and the one in the case of female. Now in the case of male, we have the male gamete formation, and that process of formation of male gametes in the testes is called spermatogenesis. Formation of simply sperm or spermatozoa, just actually in human male is called spermatogenesis. Now, so during the development, we have formed both primary and secondary sexual characters. We are studied under the sex determination process. So, the primary sexual characteristics are considered or concerned with what we have the gonads, namely either testes in the case of male or ovaries in the case of female. They are considered as simply the primary sex organs. But want to differentiate the male and female, we also have external physical appearance, differences between the male and female, and they are considered as the secondary sexual characters, even controlled by some hormones in the body, either by the male hormone or female hormone. So the primary sex organs in the case of male are nothing but testes. So the process of formation of the male gamete, namely the spermatozoon or the sperms or spermatozoa in the testes is called spermatogenesis, simply the formation of the male gamete. So if you are taking the formation of the female gametes, what we call this one oogenesis. And there is much difference between these two. One major difference I would like to say at this junction. So normally the spermatogenesis begins only after a person attaining puberty or after attaining maturity. There is no spermatogenesis in the embryonic stage or just before maturity. But in the case of oogenesis, it started actually already during the embryonic stage itself, but will be actually modified or will be expressed in different forms at times of puberty. So the spermatogenesis normally begins only at the age of puberty. Whereas in the case of oogenesis, it will start already just in the embryonic stage itself, and the modifications only at a later stage of development. So don't forget this one, spermatogenesis begins only at the time of puberty and not before that one. The male has no ability of producing the male gamete, namely the sperm, that is during or before, that is just attaining maturity. Now, actually in the case of testis, if you make a cross section of testis, the testis is formed of many units, long tubular structures. What we call this one the seminiferous tubules. What we call this one the seminiferous tubules. These are all a unit. You will see the diagram later. Seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules are the units of testis in which all the sperms are developing. So they are nothing but tubular structures, but if you make a cross section, they are lined with some primordial germinal cells. The primordial, the forerunner germinal cells. The forerunner or the primordial germ cells, what we call this one, the main germ cells, which undergo multiplication. They are increasing in number by mitosis. Because you see that one during the ejaculation of semen by a male at a particular time in one time. So it contains nearly about, that 200 to 300 million cells. 200 to 300 million cells. So million sperms, what I can say in one ejaculation. Such a huge number of cells being released. So further the germinal cells, what we call this one primordial germinal cells. They undergo repeated mitotic divisions increasing in number during a lifetime of an individual. So these primordial germ cells are developed later into the sperm mother cells, what we call this one the spermatogonia. The first one primordial germ cells, they are nothing but the germinal epithelium, normally cuboidal in nature, lining the inner wall of the seminiferous tubule, the unit of testis. And from these germinal cells we have formed the sperm mother cells, normally called the spermatogonia. And they also multiply and increase in number in order to produce more and more number of sperm cells. So anyway, the sperm mother cells are called spermatogonia. They are formed from the primordial germinal cells and they are normally diploid in nature with 46 chromosomes in the case of human. We have 46 chromosomes in the body cells, or before the formation of the male gamete or the female gamete, the mother cells have 2n number of 46 chromosomes. So, and these cells in the testis are responsible for the production of the male gamete, namely the sperm, and that phenomenon or the process is called spermatogenesis. So I mentioned the spermatogonia. So these are all the sperm mother cells normally present on the inner wall of the testis. On the inner wall of what we call this one the seminiferous tubules. The whole testis is actually covered with a connective tissue, what is called tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea, that is a covering of the testes. But here you see that one many seminiferous tubules, thousands of seminiferous tubules in each testis, and each tubule is lined with like this. This is a simple diagram showing the seminiferous tubule, and they are provided with germinal epithelial cells, what we call this one primordial germinal cells. We will see the diagram, and from these cells only we have received the spermatogonia, the sperm mother cells. They also undergo mitotic divisions, increase in number. So the mitotic divisions results in the number of more and more number of what we call this one the spermatogonia, the sperm mother cells. So they increase by mitosis. So, and while they are undergoing mitosis, some of the spermatogonia, the sperm mother cells, enter into the period of maturation, enter into a short period of growth, short period of growth. So that means actually in the case of actually spermatogenesis, during the formation of the male gametes, the growth plays a little role. But in the case of oogenesis, during the formation of the female gamete, the growth plays a much greater role. So what is happening during growth? Growth of the cell. You know that when the volume of the cytoplasm increases, more and more reservoir materials are added to the cytoplasm, the cell gets enlarged. This is what is happening during the growth period. So the growth plays a little role in the case of spermatogenesis, the meaning for that one. So the cytoplasm is much restricted in the case of sperm, very less. Because it is the egg that provides space, it provides nourishment for the developing embryo. That is why growth plays a much greater role in oogenesis. During the formation of the female gamete, a bulk of cytoplasm is added to the oocyte or the developing egg, and also the reservoir materials. The function of the sperm is just to provide nucleus alone. But the function of the egg is to provide the bulk of cytoplasm and also various maternal factors and also providing nourishment to the developing embryo. That That is why during growth period more and more nutrients are added to the egg cytoplasm. That's why it becomes actually bulky in nature when compared to the sperm. So the amount of cytoplasm present in the sperm that is formed is very less when compared to the amount of cytoplasm present in the egg. That's why I'm saying again, the growth plays a major role in the case of oogenesis than in the case of spermatogenesis, because the function of sperm is to provide only the nucleus with the diploid number of chromosomes and not actually haploid number of chromosomes and not any other materials. So I mentioned already we have formed the spermatogonia, the sperm mother cells. They are undergoing repeated divisions. Then they enter into a period of short growth period. And so that some of the spermatogonia get converted into, that is, primary spermatocytes with the same 2n number of chromosomes. So we have diploid number of chromosomes both in spermatogonia and also in the primary spermatocytes. Even we can see diploid number of chromosomes in the primordial germ cells, in the spermatogonia as well as in the primary spermatocyte. The slight difference between the primary spermatocyte and the spermatogonia is only somewhat the size. A little bit of cytoplasm is added, growth is actually taking place, somewhat the structure is increasing. The size of the primary oocyte is increasing. That's the main difference, nothing more. So we have the same number of chromosomes as in the case of that is spermatogonia. So stage number 1, so we have the spermatogonia, the sperm mother cells. They get converted into what we call this one the primary spermatocyte. The primary spermatocytes are also 2n number of chromosomes. Now this is what we can say what is called multiplication stage or multiplication phase, because the cells are increasing in number by repeated mitotic division. That's the first stage in spermatogenesis, multiplication phase. So some of the primary spermatocytes which are diploid in number enters into a period of maturation. The maturation process is otherwise what we can say the meiotic division or reduction cell division. The reduction cell division is otherwise called as maturation. So first stage you have multiplication, increase in number of cells. The second stage we have the reduction cell division or the maturation. So what is happening during that process? So if you are taking one primary spermatocyte with the diploid number of chromosomes, say example 46, the cell divides into two equally. A single cell divides into two equal sized cells, what I mentioned here. And these, the first, you know that in the case of first meiotic division, always you have a reduction division. The second meiotic division during meiosis is somewhat similar to mitosis. Only the daughter cells are formed without decrease in the number of chromosomes. Only at the end of first meiotic division, the original diploid number is reduced to haploid. So here, the primary spermatocyte undergoes first meiotic division, the two equal division, resulting in the formation of two haploid cells. And as we have used primary spermatocyte for the cells, now the newly formed cells we can see the secondary spermatocyte. The secondary spermatocytes. They also have actually that is somewhat similar, only in the sense having some amount of cytoplasm, but the number of chromosomes of as compared to what we have the primary spermatocyte. So primordial germ cells, the primary spermatocytes, then spermatogonia all have 2n number of chromosomes, whereas the secondary spermatocyte only half the number of chromosomes as the spermatogonia or what we have as primary spermatocyte. So if you have 46 chromosomes there in the case of primary spermatocyte, here only half the number, namely 23 chromosomes equivalent to haploid. So this is what we have the first meiotic division. Now the second meiotic division, what will happen? That is also equal division. Why I am using the word equal division? Because in the case of oogenesis, the division is not equal. But here the division is equal. So the second meiotic division as well as the first meiotic division is also equal, because the resultant cells are equal in size. So at the end of first meiotic division, we formed two similar secondary spermatocytes. Now at the end of second meiotic division, each secondary spermatocyte produces two cells and each with haploid number of chromosomes. So what is the similarity between what is called actually the secondary spermatocytes and the resultant products of secondary spermatocytes? Now, when the secondary spermatocytes are undergoing equal division, they produce equal cells, equal sized cells. From one secondary spermatocyte, two cells are formed. They are called as spermatids. The spermatids are nothing but spherical shaped non-functional cells having haploid number of chromosomes. So, we have the secondary spermatocytes as well as the spermatids. They have haploid number of chromosomes. Whereas the primary spermatogonia and also the primordial germ cells, they have 2n number of chromosomes. So what are spermatids? Actually non-functional spherical shaped structures with haploid number of chromosomes. They have to undergo some sort of changes. What we call this one the differentiation process. What we call this one actually the differentiation process. So what we call this one the differentiation process. So as a result of differentiation process only, we have the spermatids, the spherical shaped cells get converted into motile elongated spore. So that is what is happening. So first one we have the multiplication phase resulting in the formation of more and more number of cells, and some of the cells get modified into what we call this one the primary spermatocyte, and then the second stage of development is the maturation, nothing but the reduction subdivision, where the chromosome number is reduced to haploid. So during maturation process there are two meiotic cell divisions. At the end of first meiotic cell division, we have received two equal sized cells of haploid number of chromosomes. And each secondary spermatocyte with haploid number of chromosomes enters into the second meiotic division. That is nothing but a modified mitosis. Once again there is no reduction, already we have reduced number of chromosomes. And each one gives rise to two spermatids. So altogether from a single primary spermatocyte, four equal sized spermatids with a haploid number of chromosomes are formed. So from a single primary spermatocyte, four spermatids with a haploid number of chromosomes are formed. I mentioned earlier the spermatids are simply spherical shaped cells with a nucleus haploid with the nucleus with a haploid number of chromosomes and also a minimum amount of cytoplasm. So this is what is happening during the maturation. Now let's proceed towards the next process, what we call this one the differentiation process. Now the spermatids are non-functional nature. The spermatids are non-functional nature. So they are spherical. They have to be actually converted into. They have to be converted into just a motile elongated spore for what is called moving and also to fertilize the egg. So I mentioned already just actually spermatids are spherical shaped cells and they get transformed into sperms, the functional spermatozoa. The sperms are the abbreviated form, the original usage for sperm, that is nothing but spermatozoa. The plural we have the spermatozoa. That process of conversion of spermatid, into a functional sperm is called spermiogenesis. It is also called spermiotelosis. It is also called spermiotelosis. Spermiotelosis. Spermiogenesis or spermiotelosis. It is nothing but actually a differentiation process. So during that process, suppose you are taking a spermatid, I will show you in the diagram. This is a spermatid with a haploid number of chromosomes. There are so many changes are taking place. One change, the nucleus becomes very much condensed by losing water. Number two, most of the cytoplasm being lost. Number three, we have the Golgi body, one of the component, one of the organelle. It gets modified into what is called acrosome. This is a acrosome formation. So these are all the main changes and also the formation of middle piece and tail. These are all the further changes normally happening. So changes in the nucleus, shedding of most of the cytoplasm, formation of an acrosome, a structure, you will see the structure of the sperm, and that is being actually localized in front of the sperm just as a tip, helping in the penetration of the sperm into the egg, and also the formation of actually the tail region, the middle piece, the concentration of mitochondria in the middle piece, etc. But most of the cytoplasm is being lost. Only a very thin layer of cytoplasm is present around the middle piece alone in the sperm. All of the cytoplasm being lost. Now after the spermiogenesis, actually the transformation process, the differentiation process has been completed. Now, if you are taking the seminiferous tubule, you have, in addition to the germinal epithelial cells, some columnar epithelial cells are projecting into. Suppose this is a seminiferous tubule, the germinal epithelial cells. We have some columnar epithelial cells. What I represented, the columnar epithelial cells are projecting into the lumen of the seminiferous tubule. These columnar epithelial cells together form what are called the septoid cells. That's why millions of sperms are actually stuck to the surface of these columnar epithelial cells like this. Millions of sperms are actually stuck to the surface of the columnar epithelial cell because these septoid cells also called as the nurse cells. These are also called nurse cells. The septoid cells are also called as nurse cells because their main function is providing nourishment to the developing actually the spermatozoa. So not only they are providing actually nourishment, but also they protect and support actually the spermatids during their development. So the formation of sperms, they need a nutrient. That nutrient is provided by these columnar epithelial cells called as the septoid cells or the nerve cells projecting into the lumen of the seminiferous tubules. So their main function is nourishment, even protection also we can consider, and also support, and without which there is no formation of actually the sperms, because even once the sperms are formed without nutrients they may die, causing the individual infertile. So anyway, what are septoid cells? The nerve cells, their main function is providing nourishment along with supporting the developing sperms. That is why we can see millions of actually sperms are approaching these cells and also stuck to the surface of this one. So now the fully formed sperm is ready for release. And we know that one there is a passage. So from the testes, you have what is called the seminiferous tubules, and all the seminiferous tubules are joining together and emerging as a highly coiled tubule. We will study later, and the reproductive system, what we call this one, the epididymis. And from the epididymis through the vas deferens, then you have what is called the urethra, then it is being discharged along with the fluid secretions from various sources. You see, in the male reproductive system, you have a number of actual glands. They are secreting a fluid, and the fluid is called seminal plasma that contains some nutritive materials. Even for example, one gland by name seminal vesicle. Its secretion contains fructose. That fructose provides energy for mitochondria of the sperm and for the movement of the sperm. So the mitochondria gains energy by just oxidizing the fructose available in the secretion of seminal vesicles. These are all some other changes concerned with this one. So anyway, at the end of spermatogenesis, from a single primary spermatocyte, 4 functional sperms are formed. 4 functional. So now we see that one we have millions of sperms are formed. And if you want to make the persons fertile, at least 60%, I mentioned already in each ejaculate you have 200 to 300 million sperms. 200 to 300 million sperms during each coitus. So out of these ones, at least 60% of the sperms should be normal in size as well as actually shape. Should be normal in size and shape. So should be normal. Then only the person is said to be fertile, otherwise he is said to be infertile. Even out of these 60% of the cells which are having normal size and also normal shape, 40% of the sperm should show what is called a vigorous motility. So unless having the vigorous motility, we cannot have the process of fertilization. That individual is infertile. Though they have the ability of producing the sperm, they are normally infertile. So infertility is different from sterility. Sterility, inability to produce the sperms. Infertility, the ability to produce the sperms, but the sperms are not functional properly. That is also called by another word, what is called fecundity. So fertility and fecundity. Fecundity, the ability to produce normal count of sperms, the functional sperms. Fertility, the ability to produce the sperms. So individuals are fertile, but they are not having the fecundity. That means they have no ability of producing normal count of sperms. Normal count of sperms. That's what I said actually. Just not having normal size and shape, and also not showing any vigorous activity. So if the person releases 200 to 300 million sperms, at least 60% of the sperm should be in normal size, normal shape, and also 40% of the cells should be in what is called in normal vigorous activity or mobility or motility. Now I mentioned just the diagram, so this is a sectional view. So a part of the seminiferous tubule, this is a wall of the seminiferous tubule. I am just touching that one is a wall of the seminiferous tubules. And that is being lined with primordial germinal cells. And from the primordial germinal cells we have formed the spermatogonia, the sperm of the cells. Now the spermatozoa, we have two kinds of cells what I mentioned earlier in the seminiferous tubule. One is the germinal epithelial cells, another one the Sertoli cells. The Sertoli cells are columnar epithelial cells. Here it is represented somehow. You can see the spores are actually formed attached to two. That is the Sertoli cells. They are always approaching because they are getting nourishment only from the cells, just like the mother. They are providing nourishment to these developing spores, hence called as the nurse cells. So we have two types of cells. One is germinal epithelium, another one Sertoli cells in the seminiferous tubule. Now we have the spermatogonium first nearer to the outer wall. And then we have this primary spermatocyte. This is the primary spermatocyte. And from that one we have the secondary spermatocyte. Now this colored one, just the blue plus green colored one, is the spermatid. And from that one the spermatozoa make their origin. So stage number 1 spermatogonia, then we have primary spermatocyte, secondary spermatocyte, then spermatid, and finally spermatozoa. And another one I mentioned about the Sertoli cells. So this is what we have the diagram in a series, just in a sequential order. It is given just from bottom towards up. That is stage number 1, stage number 2, stage number 3, and so on. Finally we have received the motile sperm. So I will show another diagram just about this the phenomenon together. Now once again the cross section of the seminiferous tubule. This is the seminiferous tubule and the outer covering of the seminiferous tubule. And we have, I mentioned already, the primordial germ cells. Primordial means the forerunner germ cells. They are undergoing repeated mitotic division. You see that one, repeated mitotic division. Getting more and more what is called the spermatogonia mother cells or stem cells, as they are giving rise to actually the cells, the sperm, they are considered the stem cell, having the ability of, any stem cell has the ability of undergoing development, undergoing division, even after what we call this one differentiation process. As these spermatogonial cells actually having the ability of undergoing what is called the division and development in the adult, they are considered as a stem cell. So there is a meaning for stem cell. Any stem cell has the ability of undergoing division or multiplication and development during the adult stage. Okay, now, so the spermatogonia, normally here I mentioned there is 2n number of chromosomes. And that one is also undergoing repeated mitotic divisions, producing more and more number of cells. That is why the arrow mark is represented here. So more and more cells are being formed. And some of the cells only get actually converted into spermatogonium. This is spermatogonium stem cell. And from that only we have the spermatogonium, the sperm mother cell. Now that also increases. Now that is what is happening in all these stages, in the primordial germ cells or the spermatogonium stem cell or in the spermatogonium, all are having the ability of active cell division. So they are undergoing repeated mitotic division, producing more and more number of cells. Now this one is one spermatogonium that enters into the spermatogenesis process. It is also increasing in number. So I mentioned already a period of growth is there. So they are dividing at the same time some stage of growth. A little bit of growth is taking place. Ultimately we have formed the cell. This is the one, the primary spermatocyte. So from these onwards only we have the maturation process and differentiation. Now the primary spermatocyte undergoes the first meiotic division, resulting in the formation of two haploid equal sized cells. That is very important. Two haploid equal sized cells, so n number of chromosomes, and they are called the secondary spermatocyte, and each one undergoes second meiotic division leading to the formation of, you see that one, the spermatid. There are 4 spermatids. So what are spermatids? Nothing but actually they are non-functional spherical shaped cells with a haploid number of chromosomes. They only enter into the period of differentiation. So this is maturation. The meiotic separation is also called as maturation. Now it is followed by the differentiation process. So during differentiation, various structures being formed. The spherical shell itself gets converted into an elongated motile form, and that process called spermatogenesis, what we have actually the sperms form. So from a single primary spermatocyte, don't forget 4 functional sperms are formed. That is actually main thing. In contrast to the oogenesis, there it is something different. We'll compare later. So this is actually the cross section of the seminiferous tubule, showing the different stages what I showed in the previous diagram. And this is what we have the sperm. We will go to the endogenous structure of the sperm, the next one. Now what is happening actually? So we have just also another diagram. Now it's shown. So in human body we have 46 chromosomes. Now here the chromosomes are represented just like this. I am taking one chromosome, a single chromosome. So we have a single chromosome, and from here that is why it is given 46 single chromosomes. And then what will happen during the interphase? The replication and the duplication of the chromosomes. So we have the chromosomes, the 46 chromosomes duplicated like this. That's why here it is given 46 sister chromatids. 46 sister chromatids. Now during the first meiotic division, what will happen? So suppose I am taking 2 chromosomes. For convenience, I am taking 2 chromosomes. This is a single chromosome, that's why it is given single. So before duplication and before replication. Now this is a duplicated chromosome with the sister chromatid. That's why it's called 46 sister chromatids. So I am taking 2. So we have 2. So what will happen during meiosis? 1. The 2 chromosomes get separated. So as a result, instead of having 46 here, we have only 23 chromosomes. Here we are taking 2. So the splitted chromosome, here 1, another 1, before actually it's being actually separated. So this is what we call this one, 23 chromosomes with the sister chromatid. That's why the name is given, 23 chromosomes with the sister chromatids. Now I mentioned already the second meiotic division is nothing but an ordinary mitosis. What will happen now? Only the centromere divides. The centromere divides here. And so that what will happen, the individual sister chromatids get separated. Now here in the sperm we have the chromosome like this. That's why here it is given as single. That's why just the words are given. So we have 46 single chromosomes. Here the chromosomes undergo duplication and replication process during the interphase, what we call this one, the synthetic phase and also the mitotic phase. And then we have just now sister chromatids 46 because already the chromosomes duplicate. And here there is no splitting of the centromere. Only the 2 chromosomes get apart and enter into 2 different gametes. That is why we have only 1 chromosome in each gamete. That shows what we have the reduction chromosome. And now the next stage we have the meiosis 2. It is nothing but an ordinary mitosis. There is no actually what will happen. So here there is what is happening, the centromere divide, so that the chromosomes split, but there is no decrease or increase in number of chromosomes. Normally it is nothing but a special type of mitosis, a modified form of mitosis. As in the case of mitosis, what is happening, the chromosomes duplicated, the duplicated chromosomes, we know that one gets separated, and so that they enter into different actual cells. So the daughter cells as well as the parent cells have the same number of chromosomes. Here also you see that one, the sister chromatids. Now they got split, and now we have the sperm with only single chromosome. That's why the word here I use the word single, and here sister chromatids, sister, here single chromosome. You see the diagram, then you can understand this one. So that what happened during spermatogenesis in terms of chromosomes I represent. Now this is a normal one, just the same one. So we have the spermatogonia. At puberty, don't forget we have the maturation, just what we have the formation of the sperm only at puberty, that's why it's being specified. So in the case of spermatogonia, we have the number 46, and the primary spermatocyte also, this is the primary spermatocyte, and this one is the secondary spermatocyte, and these are all the spermatids, and these are all actually the spermatozoa. So each one divides. So this is multiplication phase, what I mentioned up to this multiplication phase. And starting from this one up to this one, we have what is called the maturation phase. That is nothing but the meiotic cell division. The last one is the differentiation process, that is what's called spermatogenesis. Some changes are taking place in the spermatids, get converted. So the question they are asking repeatedly, just the question paper, you have to remember, up to primary spermatocyte, the cells have 2 layers. The secondary spermatocyte, the spermatids and sperms, they have 23 or n number of chromosomes. The secondary spermatocyte, and then we have the spermatids, the sperms, they have n number of chromosomes. The primary spermatocytes, the spermatogonia and the primordial germ cells all have 2n number of chromosomes. So that is about what is happening. Now the hormonal control of spermatogenesis. Normally the male reproductive system is under the control of hormone. The testicular function is actually 3-dimensional. So while producing the sperm or the process of spermatogenesis is under the working of 3 different structures. 1. Hypothalamus. Number 2. The pituitary gland, particularly the anterior pituitary. Number 3. The testes. So these 3 components are interrelated in producing the sperm or controlling the testicular function, etc. So even simply just the production of gametes also, the production of hormone also. Now at the time of puberty, what will happen? You know that one, if you are taking the pituitary gland is under the control of hypothalamus. Though the pituitary gland is a master gland, its secretions are controlled by hypothalamus. If you are taking anterior pituitary, it secretes 6 hormones. For each hormone, there is a factor released by the hypothalamus to release its secretion. So we can say in this manner, for every hormone, suppose for example growth hormone, it needs a releasing factor from the hypothalamus. That is called releasing hormone, or simply called as RH, releasing hormone. For somatotropic hormone, there is a releasing hormone. For TSH, there is a releasing hormone. And for gonadotropic hormone, there is a releasing factor. So there are 6 hormones secreted by anterior pituitary gland. Each hormone secretion is under the influence of a releasing factor from the hypothalamus. That means the secretions of pituitary gland are controlled by hypothalamus. Now, what is happening? So there is a tripartite structure, there is a 3-dimensional structure, or there are triangular, just actually regulation, triangular regulation in the case of testicular function. So number 1, hypothalamus. Number 2, anterior pituitary. Number 3, just the testis itself. So these are all the 3 factors that are interrelated in regulating the testicular function. So at the time of puberty, fact number 1 is operating, namely the hypothalamus. So you see that one, there is a significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin releasing factor. So we have the gonadotropin hormones, we know that one, LH hormone, FSH hormone, and also lactogenic hormone. So these are simply called as gonadotropic hormones or gonadotropins. And for stimulating these gonadotropic hormones, either for FSH or for LH or for just what is called prolactin hormone, we need a releasing factor, a stimulus from the hypothalamus. So here we need value 2 hormones for spermatogenesis. One is LH hormone, another one FSH. So these 2 are the hormones from anterior pituitary gland. For the release of these 2 hormones, they need a releasing factor to be released by the hypothalamus. So at the time of puberty, there is a significant increase in the secretion of what I mentioned, the gonadotropin releasing hormone, simply called as GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. Simply also we can say the factor. 1 factor for LH, 1 factor for FSH. Now these factors, actually the hypothalamus, reaches anterior pituitary gland through the axons, stimulating the pituitary gland to release hormone number 1, LH, and hormone number 2, FSH. Now these 2 hormones are reaching the gonads. So one from hypothalamus, then reaching what is called the anterior pituitary. The second one, now the third one we have the testes. Now the antipituitary secretions, namely the LH and FSH, they reach the testes and regulating the spermatogenesis. In what way? Number one, let us take the function of this FSH. Now this FSH hormone, and normally you know that one, we have the LH hormone, and now just actually this antipituitary stimulate the secretion of LH. First let's take this one, LH, simply called as luteinizing hormone. In the case of male, it is called ICSH. It has a different name, what is called ICSH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. So luteinizing hormone or interstitial cell stimulating hormone. So the factors stimulate the pituitary gland to release the LH or ICSH. Now this ICSH through blood circulation reaches the interstitial cells, namely the Leydig cells. These are all called interstitial cells. Interstitial cells. So as they are found in between the seminiferous tubules. In between the seminiferous tubules we have a mass of cells. As they are found in between the seminiferous tubules, they are called interstitial cells. And these are all endocrine cells, because they are secreting the male hormone collectively called as androgens. We have a number of actually androgens. So one such major androgen, so androgens collectively the male sex hormone. One such hormone is testosterone. All are steroids only, the male and female sex hormone are steroids. So the male and female sex hormones are steroids. So androgen is a collective name of the male sex hormone. One such male hormone, the major male hormone, testosterone. So once testosterone is stimulated, and this FSH along with this testosterone, now these two together interact and promote the process of spermatogenesis. Number one. So LH reaches the Leydig cells, secreting the androgens, the testosterone, and this testosterone along with FSH stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. This is one control. Now we need a constant concentration of this androgen, namely testosterone for spermatogenesis to be continued. The normal level of testosterone is maintained by a secretion from the Sertoli cells. Now the FSH not only interacts with this testosterone to stimulate this process of spermatogenesis, it stimulates the Sertoli cells of the seminiferous tubules to produce a protein, what is called androgen binding protein. This androgen binding protein is a stimulant that is responsible for maintaining the normal concentration of testosterone. So the normal concentration of testosterone is maintained by the androgen binding protein released by the Sertoli cells. Then also, once actually the process is completed, if the hormone is enough, there is a feedback mechanism. And by which what will happen, it also secretes another substance what is called inhibiting. It suppresses the secretion of what is called the testosterone. It suppresses the secretion of testosterone. So, FSH, testosterone, stimulates spermatogenesis. FSH stimulates the Sertoli cells to release androgen binding protein, which is essential for normal concentration or for the maintenance of normal concentration of that is a hormone, testosterone. And once the level is increased, that is testosterone, that level is being actually suppressed by another substance inhibiting, also secreted by the Sertoli cells. This is one country. I mentioned already the secretion of the androgen is by the LH, that too by the Leydig cells. Now this androgen actually enters or diffuses into, that is testosterone diffuses into the seminiferous tubules and stimulate the process of spermatogenesis. Not only that, once the level is actually balanced, now this testosterone normally reaches the hypothalamus by means of feedback mechanism. So that what will happen, the secretion of the releasing fat will decrease, and so also the secretion of LH. So it suppresses the secretion of LH hormone once the level has been reached by inhibiting the activity of hypothalamus and then just the pituitary gland. This is what we call this one the negative feedback mechanism. So in the case of negative feedback mechanism, if the hormone level is increased, that is being taken back to the particular gland so that it decreases its secretion. Suppose the level of a particular hormone is less, then that stimulus is also carried back to the gland, so that the gland releases more hormone. This is what we can say negative feedback mechanism. We will see and the physiology and the endocrine system. So this is what is happening with reference to the regulation of that is testicular function, that is in relation to spermatogenesis. Now, here I want to make a difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Then I will come back to this one after finishing oogenesis. And the ultimate product of spermatogenesis, you know that one, we have the spore. So it is a microscopic structure, a modified specialized cell for reproduction, the male gamete. Now, what are the components of the male gamete? What are the structures present in a male gamete? So this is the diagrammatic structure. So the structure of the sperm shows, the sperm in human was first reported by Anton von Leeuwenhoek. He was the first one observed free cells like bacteria, the blood cells, and also the sperm. The human sperm was first reported by Anton von Leeuwenhoek, the person who just observed bacteria. Now, the fully matured sperm has actually there are 4 components. Number 1, the head region. Number 2, just we have a small neck. And number 3, just actually we have, so 1 head and 2 neck and 3 middle piece and also the 4th one tail. These are all the 4 components. Now the head of actually sperm is more or less ovoid in shape. The major part of the head is occupied by the nucleus. You see that one, just a large nucleus we have. And in front of the nucleus we have what is, so the nucleus is the one having the genetic material, having haploid number of chromosomes. Then in front of the nucleus we have an acrosome, just actually a body present at the tip. Now this acrosome is a structure normally developed from Golgi complex. The major source of acrosome is a Golgi complex. You know that one, Golgi complex is also responsible for the formation of lysosome. That's another question. So acrosome is formed from Golgi complex. The lysosome is also formed from Golgi complex. So normally I mentioned already, the cytoplasm is very much restricted. The whole sperm is covered with a membrane. Now this is actually the plasma membrane what we have. The whole actually sperm is covered with the plasma membrane. And now we have only little amount of cytoplasm. So the head region consists of spherical nucleus, more or less ovoid, and then cap, what we call this one, the acrosome in front. Now what is the role of acrosome? I mentioned it is formed from Golgi complex. Its main role is releasing some enzymes. It is filled with vesicle. Actually it's a vesicular structure formed by the combination of many vesicles formed from Golgi complex, and that contains actually some chemicals, namely commonly known as sperm lysins. Commonly known as sperm lysins. So the name of the sperm lysin is different in different actually animals. For example, in the case of humans, the lysin, the sperm lysin, so it's commonly called sperm lysin, its chemical nature is different. Now the name of the sperm lysin, the enzyme found in acrosome of human, is called hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase. So the sperm lysin is called hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase. So in the case of a human, but the common name is a sperm lysin. So what is its role? It plays an important role in the penetration of the sperm into the egg. That's why it's called sperm lysin. So it dissolves the egg membrane at the time of fertilization and makes the way for the entry of the sperm into the egg. That's the role. So acrosome, the pointed structure formed at the tip, it contains actually enzymes. The nature of the chemical normally called as sperm lysins, but its chemical nature is different in different types of species. In the case of human beings, it is called hyaluronidase. The reason for that one, we have the egg cell. The egg cell is surrounded by some follicle cells. The follicle cells are stuck together by means of hyaluronic acid, a substance. So to separate that acid, to dissolve that acid, now the sperm lysin is used for the penetration of the sperm into the egg. That's why it's called as hyaluronidase. So the head we have the structures. So a short neck is formed. But in the neck region we have two centrioles. Here it is represented by blue color. There are two centrioles. So one supposed actually proximal, another one distal. So like this actually the centrioles are placed. This is the proximal centriole and this one is the distal centriole. So normally the centrioles are placed at right angles are perpendicular to each other. Normally the same condition here. Now from the distal centriole only arises a filament, and this is the filament what we have, the axial filament not mentioned here. It passes through the middle piece and the tip. So what I represent that is the axial filament arising from the distal centriole. Here it is not represented properly. Now this axial filament is similar to the centriole in structure, similar to the basal body in structure, blepharoblast in structure, the basal granule in structure, the cilia, flagella, blepharoblast, basal body, basal granule, and also the axial filament of the sperm, all are having same organization. So what is the organization? Just actually in Ames question paper in 2010 or 9 I think so. Suppose you make a cross section through this middle piece. So what can you observe this one? What can you observe this one? So here there is an axial filament. I mentioned it is passing through like this. It is passing through the axial filament. So in the case of cilia, flagella, basal body, basal granule, centriole or blepharoblast, etc. If you make a section, even in the case of cilia, flagella, you can have what is called 9+2 arrangement. 9+2 arrangement. The meaning for that one, if you make a section, you can have an array of 9 peripheral fibers like this and 2 central fibers. This is the arrangement what we have in the case of cilia, flagella. If you make anything up, just for example including the axial filament, all are similar in one aspect, having 9 peripheral fibers plus central 2 fibers. This arrangement is called 9+2 arrangement. So this is a question. If you make a section through the middle piece, what can you see it? So you can see that is 9+2 arrangement plus mitochondria. Because you see that one in the middle piece, we have the mitochondria which provides energy for the movement of the sperm. But here the mitochondria are spirally arranged, not scattered, spirally arranged. It gets energy from a fluid secreted by the seminal vesicles, what we call this one the seminal plasma, which contains fructose, which provides energy for the formation of ATP during the oxidation of mitochondria. So the middle piece contains mainly the mitochondria, and also through this one the axial filament is passing. Don't say simply it contains only mitochondria. We have axial filament is also passing through this one, and the one arises from the distal centriole. That is why the question in 2011, I think so, it is question paper. When you make a section in the middle piece, what you can observe it? Nothing but 9+2 arrangement plus mitochondria around. That's about the middle piece. So the middle piece is formed by the tail. Now the axial filament is proceeding just through the tail, and it is also extending beyond the level of this plasma membrane. So the tail is differentiated in two parts. The part of the tail having what is called this plasma membrane is called the main piece, and the part of the tail having only the axial filament is called the end piece. This is the end piece. So that means actually the axial filament is also extending beyond the level of the main piece. So then it is called end piece, and this is the tail part of the main piece. I mentioned earlier we have the cytoplasm is very much restricted. It is not found throughout actually. So it is very much restricted, found as a thin layer just in the middle part, that is around the mitochondria. It is restricted to this only, just what I represented the yellow color. It is found as a thin layer. So the thin layer of cytoplasm found in the middle piece region is called mangetti. Mangetti. M-A-N-C-H-E-T-T-E. Mangetti. This is nothing but a thin layer of cytoplasm that surrounds the mitochondria restricted to the middle piece. So these are the various components what I represent in the diagram. We'll go back to the nose. Now this is another diagram, just a diagrammatic represent the same one where I represent the just actually a diagrammatic one. Now this is plasma membrane, acrosome, the nucleus containing the chromosomal material, and we have the neck region. You see that what this is a centriole. So this is a centriole, and from it only you see that one the axial filament. That is why when you make a cross section here, you can get the centriole surrounded by, that means the axial filament of 9+2 arrangement and the mitochondria. So the energy source for the swimming or the floating or just for movement of the sperm is called the mitochondria. See here the tail region, and now this is the end piece. A small thin axial filament is extending beyond the level of the plasma membrane, and that is called as an end piece. Now I mentioned just what I described. I will go through once again. Some microscopic structure having head, neck, middle piece and tail. So a plasma membrane envelops the whole body of the sperm. The head has a elongated nucleus or more or less ovoid nucleus and a cap-like acrosome in front. The role is the secretion of spermolysine, which helps in the penetration of the sperm into the egg during fertilization process. And then the acrosome is filled with the enzyme that help in the penetration of the sperm into the egg. What we call this one the spermolysis. It's of diverse chemical nature. So in the case of human being, it is called hyaluronidase. So the middle piece possesses numerous mitochondria that produce energy for the movement of the tail. And this is a structure. What I mentioned is mangetic. So here we see that one the mangetic. So what is mangetic? A thin layer of cytoplasm surrounding the mitochondria present in the middle piece of the sperm. This is what is called the mangetic. Now, what is the role of acrosome from whom it is normally developed? I mentioned already, the acrosome helps in the penetration of the sperm into the egg, and that one is derived from Golgi body. This is a question. So both the lysosomes as well as the acrosome of the sperm, they have originated and developed from the Golgi body. So the Golgi body is the mother for the formation of this acrosome as well as the lysosomes, and they contain, I mentioned, just seminal vesicles. So normally the main reproductive system is associated with a number of glands: prostate gland, seminal vesicles, then corpus glands, bulbourethral glands. So the secretion of all these glands together called seminal plasma. Seminal plasma. Seminal plasma. So in which only the sperms are floating. So the seminal plasma plus sperm together called as what we call this one the semen. Together called as semen. So a semen is nothing but a fluid consisting of seminal plasma, nothing but the secretions of different types of glands. What I mentioned, just a major part by the seminal vesicle, corpus gland, bulbourethral glands, etc. And all these glands secrete a fluid together called seminal plasma, in which only we have the sperms. The sperms are floating, they are moving and form the semen. So the main function of the semen is to provide nourishment and also acting as a transporting medium. One for providing nutrition, another one transporting medium to support the sperm for its movement. I mentioned already just we need actually each ejaculate in the semen contains nearly 200 to 300 million sperms. After which you should have nearly 60 million sperms should have a normal size and shape. Then would you are said to be fertile, otherwise you are considered as infertile, not sterile, infertile. And out of the 60%, 40% should show what is called the vigorous activity at the motility. Then only they could reach the sperm, they could reach the egg for fertilization. So the seminal vesicles, what I mentioned, one of the glands associated with actually the male reproductive system is later, and that solution contains what we have just fructose. It contains more fructose sugar, and that one is providing energy to the mitochondria for the formation of ATP. That one provides actually that provides ability for the sperm to move. So for the movement of the sperm, the energy is provided mainly by the fructose. That fructose provides energy to the mitochondria. That mitochondria prepares energy ATP. That ATP is utilized for the movement of the sperm in the fluid seminal plasma. on the semen. So semen provides nourishment and also support and also for the transport of the sperm to reach the female reproductive system. So these are all some of the things what we have related to. So related to spermatogenesis. So remember that one. So it is happening in the testes only after attaining puberty. So thank you for your help and thank you for your cooperation. So if you are interested, please may ask any question or post your question. We will answer it readily. Thank you. The class is complete.